Welcome to the third and final episode of the preseason top 10 player power rankings for Overwatch League 2023. This episode will feature the tanks. The premise of these videos are to give you my projected top players in the league based on things like skill, team, past peaks, potential, consistency, and more. Tank is a pretty demanding position in Overwatch 2, so you gotta be dominant to make the cut. Here's 10 guys I see doing just that. Starting off the list is Dante. I think Dante surprised a lot of us with his transition to tank in 2022. At first, he felt like nothing more than a Doomfist specialist, but by the end of the season, he grew into so much more. Dante is one of the longest standing veterans in the entire league. He may not have the accolades to back it up, but he's always been near the top in terms of his skill level and his competitive drive. There's so much room for concern when it comes to his hero pool as a solo tank. Between how he improves on the stuff we've already seen and how he stacks up on the stuff we've never seen him play before, you'd think we'd be a bit more worried about how Dante performs in a stacked Western Conference, and yet I have nothing but trust in him. He's so smart and so motivated to keep on being the best that I just have faith in him to figure it out somehow, some way, and further improve as a tank player in 2023. Dante is one of those guys you just expect greatness from at this point. I'm not saying that he'll be God tier, but it should not come as a surprise to see him continue to keep up with some of the league's heaviest hitters. I just can't get myself to doubt this guy at this point in his career. He has defied Father Time after time, and I just have too much respect to leave him off of this list. At the number 9 position is a newcomer. It's going to be Max, rookie tank of the San Francisco Shock. How much respect Max earns will largely depend on how much he can play, meaning that meta could very easily make or break him. But anyone who's seen him play cannot deny his talent. Max is a crazy prospect specializing in the off-tank heroes. He is one of the most hyped up prospects of the entire offseason, and I'd like to think that in familiar territory, with Krusty's coaching, that he'll unleash his full potential on OWL teams. Again, his uses may be niche, depending on what happens with balance patches, but he's so destructive that anytime we do see him might be one to remember. If we see Zarya, Sigma, Hog, or even Junker Queen, Max is going to shine brightly as one of the better tanks in the league. Max has already won championships in contenders as the starting tank, both in Overwatch 2 and Overwatch 1. This guy is league ready. Do not sleep on him, even if he doesn't play consistently. Number 8. Kaluj. Cole Huge definitely deserves a shout. His rookie year was pretty great for the Shock. He was a borderline role star with elite potential. You could see him play just as good as last year, if not even better this go-around, as Kaluj was sucked into a team that he wasn't super familiar with on San Francisco, and he was still a beast. Now he's on Toronto Defiant, where he's playing with all his former teammates, plus 2 coaches. He's gonna be that much more comfortable out there. Better synergy. More trust even, and that stuff goes a long way in the tank department. He's going to be less hesitant. He's going to be more confident. He maybe has a bit to learn on certain characters as a solo tank, but I'm a firm believer that Kaluj will figure it out. At the very least, we've seen what he can do as a solo tank before, so he should be around as good as he was last year. And if he really figures things out, he'll take it a step further. At number 7, we're going with Donghak. A surprise pick to some of you for sure, but I have a really good feeling based off of what I've heard and seen. Donghak didn't get all that much attention during his contender stays, and yet, the Atlanta Reign were very willing to pick him up. The Reign are gunning for a championship this year. If they were struggling on Wrecking Ball and Winston-oriented compositions during their scrims, it would be in their best interest to pick a top-of-the-line player who fits their system. Gator's been cooking all offseason as the new head coach of Atlanta Reign, and we've seen promising results, so I just find it hard to believe that Donghak isn't special if one of the best teams in the league has interest in him. Donghak might only play in Dive, let's say, but I'm gonna go out and say that his Wrecking Ball in Winston will be top tier. Don't sleep on this guy. He feels like he could be the secret weapon that fans will learn about the hard way. Number 6. Junbin, another newcomer to look out for in 2023. Junbin, much like his partner Max, is a prospect who is attracting many eyes. When the minimum age was reduced to 17 years old, people were jumping for joy that they'd get to see Junbin a year early. He's been a staple to the O2 Blast success for years now and was a solid starter and star main tank. His dive synergy with Proper is already amazing, and it could very well translate to the Overwatch League right from day one, and he could be one of the better Winston and ball players, and I think his flexibility could also catch some people off guard. Rein, Orisa, Doomfist, Ramatra, they're all heroes that he could also be pretty useful on this year. I'm pretty high on Junbin. He is one of my top potential upcoming young stars. Junbin is very skilled and well experienced. He's been competing for championships since he was like 15 years old, and he has longed for this moment to finally compete in the Overwatch League, and there's no way he's gonna waste it. At the 5 spot is a guy who needs zero introduction. It's the reigning finals MVP himself, Fearless. Obviously, he was going to be somewhere in this list. Dude has been one of the best players in the world 3 years running. He still has the drive to compete even after like 6 years, and he's proven that he can find success in just about any coaching system. He'll look and feel like a complete player on all dive heroes, especially if he improves his Doomfist. And now that Gargoyle is on this roster, he can really hone in on the stuff that he's supposed to specialize in. However, I do think that Fearless caps out at number 5 because the Outlaws have a lot more aggressive personalities compared to Dallas. As good as Shu and Violet are, they aren't the most heal-oriented bunch. They're insane players for sure, but it's different than playing alongside somebody like Fielder. He'll still be an amazing player, there's just a chance that he gets exposed slightly more often than what we're accustomed to. Regardless, Fearless still will be a beast. Don't let what I said distract you. He's a monster player. Anyway, moving on to number 4, I have Void. I don't know why, but I feel like people aren't talking about him anymore. He was still world class on the Dragons last year, and is more than capable of being one of the best players in the league on Seoul Dynasty. I do understand that he nearly retired this offseason, in fact he did for a little bit, but clearly he got the motivation to come back if he was so willing to change his mind. Seoul Dynasty are no Shanghai, but let's not act like they aren't a decent squad. There will certainly be questions about his main tank pool individually, I'll give you that, but it's Void we're talking about. He will find ways to adjust, and I have zero doubts that coaching will find unique solutions that work to his strengths. Prophet, I'm guessing, played a large part in recruiting him, and we saw what happened the last time he recruited a legendary tank just 1 year prior. Him and Smurf dominated the league, and there's reason to believe that he'll do the same with Void. They're probably going to be on the same page with their dives. Their synergy and respect for each other as former rivals could lead to a bounce-back year for Void. A fresh start is exactly what he needs, and I think he'll show everybody in the world just that. Number 3, Hanbin. No explanation needed here, right? Hanbin was the most dominant tank player of 2022. Dallas were so insane whenever he took the stage that it felt like there were times where he didn't even stand a chance, and now he'll be playing all the time in a weaker region. I'd say he's in a strong position to not just be the top player at his position, but in APAC in general. He's going to be dependent on now more than ever before, and I expect him to step up. There are numerous metas where he could absolutely thrive, and that's not even including his potential on a new hero like Ramatra, which I'd like to add definitely feels like a Hanbin type of hero. We really don't know what he's capable of on the main tank heroes, which is definitely a concern, but according to Fearless himself, Hanbin ain't that bad on the Winston at all, and we've seen him play things like Ball and Doom and Rein before, and he certainly could improve now that he's getting more playtime on them. Plus, these potential weaknesses likely get exposed less in the APAC region. Hanbin is just in a golden position to pick up from where he left off. Maybe not with the same dominance as last year, but still enough to be recognized as a superstar. And at my number 2 spot, I'm going with maybe a bit more of a bold prediction. My number 2 tank of Season 6 is Someone. This is the year that he takes it to the next level. He was already a star for the Mayhem in 2022, but people didn't recognize him so much because Florida weren't anything special. Now with a better team around him that is more set up for success, there's more chances for someone to truly shine as the star he is. Someone already looks and feels like a composed leader that's been doing this for years. His Winston and general dive abilities are elite, but what I more so like about him is the flexibility. There was not a single hero that he was garbage at last year. In fact, on most of them you could argue that he was above average, even spanning onto things we've never seen him play before, like Sigma and Zarya. Tank flexibility is so important in Overwatch 2, it's something that often separates the good tanks from the great, and someone has it. And this time he'll show that off in more of the high-stakes environments where everybody has no choice but to witness his greatness. This is where he transcends to the next level. And finally, at my number 1 tank of 2023, I have Smurf. And he's basically everything that I said about someone, only more proven. Smurf proved that he can be an excellent solo tank last year, often playing both the off-tank and main tank role, no problem. He's gonna feel like an X-Factor 9 times out of 10 with that flexibility, and he'll dominate anytime we see a Winston-centric meta. Smurf is a multi-time champion that is clearly hungry for more. He's been one of the best, if not the best tank player in the league for 3 years running. Smurf just has a better fundamental understanding of the game than 95% of his competition. He fits like a glove into any system, and this Boston team will give him crazy support. And now that he's reunited with his friends Twilight and Striker, get ready for him to be a nightmare for the rest of the West. The competition at tank will be incredibly fierce. As the only guy out there on your position now, you're dependent on a lot, but in the end, I feel that Smurf is capable of taking home the crown as the most reliable and well-respected tank in the league. And with that said, we've reached the end of this little 3-part series. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and leave your own top 10 in the comments below. And if you missed the other episodes, a link will be provided for you to check them out right now. And until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.